He didn't wake up one day with an empty bank account. It happened slowly, quietly. One compromise here, one signature there, a few missed details he didn't think mattered. And by the time he realized how much he'd actually lost, the damage was done, and there was no getting it back. That's how it goes for most men in divorce. They don't get taken down by a dramatic courtroom moment. They get bled out by the small decisions no one warned them about. They walk in thinking they're being reasonable, respectful, even smart, and walk out wondering how they ended up paying for everything, while losing almost everything. Because the traps aren't loud. They don't look dangerous. In fact, they often look like the mature choice, the peaceful option, the path of least resistance. And that's exactly why they work. By the time a man sees the full cost of those choices, financially, emotionally, legally, he's not just out of money. He's out of leverage, out of options, out of time. In this video, we're going to break down 7 divorce traps most men don't see coming. Until their accounts are drained, their rights are gone, and their future feels like someone else's decision. Let's get into it. He just wanted to keep the peace. The tension at home was unbearable. The arguments were constant. The atmosphere felt heavy, especially around the kids. So he did what felt right. He packed a bag and left. He figured giving her space would calm things down. He told himself it was temporary, that leaving the house didn't mean leaving his life behind. But in the eyes of the court, it did. This is the first trap most men don't see coming. Moving out too early. It seems harmless, even respectful, but legally, it can be interpreted as abandonment. Not just of the home, but of the family structure. Suddenly, she's the one staying in the marital house. She's the one with the kids. She's the one maintaining stability. And you're the visitor, the outsider, the one the judge sees as having already given up your place. Now you're paying for a house you don't live in, fighting for time with your own children, and being told that you left voluntarily. So why should anything change? He thought he was defusing a situation, but what he really did was give away leverage. And once you're out, getting back in, financially or physically, becomes a fight you didn't plan for. This trap doesn't shout. It whispers. And by the time you realize what it cost, you're not just staying in a hotel. You're paying for the home she still controls. He told himself it was just temporary. A short-term agreement. Something to keep things civil until they figured it out. So when she presented a parenting schedule, a support amount, or a plan for who stayed in the house, he didn't fight it. He signed. He thought, we'll sort it out later. But in court, later rarely means better. This is trap number 2. Signing temporary orders that quietly become permanent. Family court loves stability. Judges don't want chaos, don't want to rip kids out of routines, don't want to rock the boat if it seems like things are working. So if you agreed to a certain custody split, a certain dollar amount, or a certain living arrangement, even under stress, guess what? That becomes the new normal. And once something is normal, the court doesn't ask if it was fair. It asks if it should stay the same. What he thought was a placeholder turned into a precedent. What he signed in frustration became the framework for his future. And by the time he realized how bad the deal was, the paperwork was already doing the talking. He didn't lose the fight in court. He lost it at the kitchen table, the day he said, fine, just for now. Because in divorce, there is no just for now. There's what you agree to and what you get stuck with. He couldn't shake the guilt. Not for ending the marriage. That decision felt necessary. But for everything that came with it. For the pain. For the confusion it caused the kids. For not being able to hold it together. So when it came time to negotiate the settlement, he didn't argue. He gave more than he had to. Paid more than the law required. Offered to cover extra expenses just to make it easier. Because he thought doing the right thing would make it feel better. This is trap number 3. Letting guilt shape the settlement. It happens quietly. You feel bad, so you overcompensate. You think if you just pay a little more, give a little more, the process will be smoother. That maybe she'll appreciate it. That maybe your kids will see you as the one who took the high road. But here's what really happens. No one adjusts your monthly payment for emotional intent. The court doesn't care if you gave extra to keep things peaceful. Once it's written down, it's binding, locked in, and trying to undo it later is almost impossible. You don't get credit for being generous. You just get bills. And what felt noble at the time starts to feel like a chain around your neck, one you built yourself. He didn't realize that guilt is the most expensive emotion in divorce. Because when you try to buy peace, all you end up with is a smaller future and a heavier past. He thought it wouldn't get that complicated. At first, it was just one consultation, a few documents to file. Nothing messy, nothing contested. He figured he could handle it with a basic retainer, maybe a few $1,000 max. But the moment things shifted, when her lawyer pushed back, when the custody terms got messy, when property division got tense, the meter started running. And it never really stopped. This is trap number 4, underestimating how quickly legal fees add up. Most men walk in thinking divorce is expensive. They just don't realize how expensive slow conflict becomes. Every call, every email, every motion, it all has a price tag. And not a small one. $300 an hour here. $175 just to respond to an email. $800 to prep for a court date that might get pushed. He thought he'd pay for legal help. What he ended up paying for was time. And in the legal world, time is a business model. Meanwhile, she might have legal aid, or a lawyer on contingency, or parents footing her bill. And there he is, watching his savings bleed out, just trying to keep up. It doesn't happen with one invoice. It happens slowly, over weeks, months, delays, and paperwork, until one day, he opens his bank app and realizes the divorce didn't just cost him his marriage. It cost him his margin, his stability, and the financial freedom he spent years building. He thought the court would already know that he was the one who paid the mortgage, that he covered the bills, bought the groceries, handled the insurance, paid for daycare. He didn't brag about it. He just did it, quietly, consistently. And when divorce came, he figured that history would speak for itself. But history without proof means nothing in court. This is trap number 5, failing to document financial contributions. He thought the judge would see he was the provider. But the court doesn't deal in assumptions. It deals in evidence. And if he didn't keep records, bank statements, receipts, screenshots, payments tied to dates, then in the court's eyes, it never happened. So while she shows up with organized files, itemized statements, and a clear picture of what she's owed, he walks in with vague memories and nothing to back them up. And suddenly, the man who paid for everything is being asked to pay even more. Because without documentation, his past contributions don't just disappear. They get flipped. He's asked to prove he should know more, instead of being credited for what he already gave. He didn't realize that generosity without proof becomes a liability. And when that gavel drops, all the quiet sacrifices he made over the years aren't honored. They're erased. He thought it would stay fair. They had agreed to keep things simple. No drama, no courtroom battles. She even said she didn't want to take him for everything. So when her lawyer got involved, he didn't panic. He figured the attorney was just there to help her with the paperwork, not to twist the knife. But that's exactly what happened. This is trap number 6, believing her lawyer is looking for fairness. He forgot one crucial fact. Her lawyer doesn't work for fairness. They work for her. Their job isn't to protect both parties. It's to get her the best possible deal, no matter how unbalanced it looks from the outside. And if he walks in trusting that everyone's playing fair, he's already behind. Every overlooked asset, every unspoken agreement, every vague sentence in the fine print. Her attorney is trained to find it, exploit it, and lock it in. Meanwhile, he's still thinking it's just a formality. By the time he realizes he's not dealing with a neutral process, but a legal negotiation designed to favor her, he's already signed too much, given too much, and assumed too much. He didn't lose because she attacked. He lost because he trusted a system that was never set up to protect him. And in divorce, that kind of trust can be the most expensive mistake of all. He just wanted it to be over. The stress was eating him alive. The meetings, the paperwork, the tension, it all felt endless. So when the settlement came across the table, he didn't argue. He didn't negotiate. He signed, told himself he'd deal with the consequences later, that anything unfair could be fixed down the line. But later never came. This is trap number 7, thinking the court will fix a bad deal later. It sounds logical, reasonable even, If things change, the agreement should change too, right? But family court doesn't work like that. Once a settlement is signed, it's locked in, especially financial terms. Unless you can prove a drastic, life-altering change in circumstances, the court has no reason to reopen the case. An emotional regret doesn't count. So the unfair custody split stays. The bloated alimony payment stays. The vague clause that ends up costing thousands in shared expenses, that stays too. By the time he tried to undo it, the judge barely glanced at the paperwork. You agreed, they said, and that was that. He thought he was buying peace. What he really bought was a financial sentence with no appeal. Because in divorce, final doesn't just mean finished. It means forever. He didn't see it happening. Not all at once. Not in a dramatic, movie-style courtroom loss. But piece by piece, through every small decision he thought wouldn't matter. Through every form he signed just to move forward. Through every assumption that things would stay fair, or get fixed later, or somehow work themselves out. That's how most men lose everything in divorce. Not because they were reckless, but because they were uninformed. They didn't know that moving out meant giving up leverage. That temporary orders become permanent patterns. That guilt can bankrupt you. That legal fees multiply fast. That without documentation, your contributions vanish. That her lawyer is there to win, not to balance the scales. And that once you sign, it's almost impossible to go back. By the time it's over, they're not just divorced. They're drained. Financially, emotionally, sometimes for years. That's why these traps matter. Not because they're obvious, but because they're quiet. They look harmless, reasonable, even responsible, until your bank account is empty and there's no one left to blame but the version of you who didn't know better. So now you do. And the next move? Make sure you don't just survive divorce. Make sure you don't pay for it long after it's over.